Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. 'Tis the season when the Salem Convention Center is a very popular place. My understanding is the downstairs is filled with nearly 400 Pape trucks, and parking was a bit of a challenge today. Add on top of that, we sprinkled in a little bit of weather, and we sure appreciate your perseverance in making it into this room. We also recognize that we have a few people going through our food line, but to make sure we have everything worked out time-wise, we are going to start out with our sponsor video, of course, our presenting sponsors, Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions.
Do the right thing is our first value, and it's the most core to what we are as a business and what we do. We believe in long-term relationships. Doing things the right way is the only way we can do them. We've been in the community for 115 years, so everything we do starts with that value of do the right thing. We're going to make sure we do right by the client every single time.
Excellence is found in its pursuit. It's about getting a little bit better every day, overcoming challenges, setting high standards. Excellence is a habit. It's not a finish line.
I love working with my clients and strategizing with them to help them with their employee benefit plans. But coming back to the office and working as a team with my coworkers and those account managers is integral to what I do.
If you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, go with the team. When you think about your business and your company and looking out into the future, you want to be partnered up with companies that are going to be there for you. Companies like Hagen Hamilton.
Hagen Hamilton is proud to sponsor the Forum Speaker Series, and we thank you for joining us. Enjoy the presentation.
Well, thank you so much to the John family, our partners at Hagen Hamilton, who generally are up here, and I see they are here today. Thank you for your strategic work. So welcome to the Salem Chamber's Forum Speaker Series Luncheon for December. We appreciate you all being here. At the Salem Chamber, we work to make sure businesses can prosper so our entire community may thrive. Those are aspirational, missional work of our organization, and we wish to remind everybody the importance of keeping their dollars local this holiday season. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to our Salem Chamber President from State Farm, Ted Ferry Insurance, Mr. Ted Ferry himself.
Ted Ferry himself, not an impersonator this time, so no AI. Thank you all for being here and attending this forum. Thank you also to our new members that Jackie Roche is connecting with and bringing in, as well as first-time forum speakers. I think after you hear Dr. Fruits speak today, you'll never want to miss another forum event. In this month's 503 magazine, I will talk a little bit about our role as a chamber and as a community in the economic advocacy in Salem. To me, especially this time of year, it's really important for me to think about being thankful, finding a nonprofit or two or six to support abundantly, as well as the importance, as what Tom said, buying and supporting our local businesses. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Thank you again to Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions for being our series speaker, or presenting sponsor. Also, today's monthly sponsor is in the house, and they're a group preparing to make a tremendous impact in Salem-Keizer area. They are called the Businesses for Community, and we will hear from them momentarily. Would you now please stand with me for a moment of reflection and prayer, and then remain standing for the presentation of our national anthem performed today by Grayson Eames, sorry. Let's pray. Gracious Father, we take this moment to pray and reflect, each in our own unique way, on our lives and on this moment. We are thankful for the meal before us and the hands that make this event possible. We are thankful for our elected officials and the many leaders and pillars of our community that are in this room right now. Help us all to have a heart of a servant that pleases you. We are grateful for this day, for its blessings, its opportunities, and even its challenges and trials. Give us all wisdom, strength, guidance, and help us to take on each and every day with hearts and actions of love, joy, and kindness for everyone. Amen.
Amen.
Grayson, would you please lead us?
And both last names are correct, so you're good. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Grayson. Grayson is a client care relationship and process manager for Dominguez Accounting. Grayson holds a very unique role within the Salem Chamber. He is the only Salem Chamber ambassador for both emerging leaders and Salem Chamber. We appreciate him and his voice. Thank you again. Speaking of ambassadors, if you notice the men and women in the blue blazers or the blue vests, take a moment to thank them. They make each event that we sponsor or have a very special and welcoming environment. So thank you, ambassadors. We appreciate you. I'd also like to have our past presidents, if you could please stand and be recognized. There we go. We have a few of them. And now, if you are a current Salem Chamber board member, if you could please stand, we'd appreciate that. Look at the crowd. Good job. And now I have a few local elected officials to make mention of, and appreciate our elected officials being here today. We have Marion County Commissioner Kevin Cameron, Polk County Commissioner Jeremy Gordon. Oh, wow. There we go. Stand up. Salem City Councilor Linda Nishioka, and Salem City Councilor Shane Matthews, and Salem City Councilor Deanna Gwynn, and Salem City Councilor Vanessa Dordyke. Very well represented with our Salem City Council, so thank you for being here. And then, of course, we have our state representative, Kevin Mannix, and also my neighbor. Thank you, Kevin, for being here. And the Chemeketa Community College Board, we have Ken Hector is here as well, so thank you for being here. One more round. I'd also like to thank our head of the table. Sitting at my far left over here is TJ Sullivan. He is an insurance agent representing our Forum Series season sponsor, Hagen Hamilton Insurance Solutions. Next to him is Mark Hoyt. He is a partner with Sherman, Johnny, and Hoyt, and serves as board chair for businesses for Oregon. And we will hear from them again shortly. And then right here is Dr. Eric Fruits. He is an adjunct professor of economics at Portland State University. And I'm a graduate from Portland State, so thank you for teaching there. And he is also a senior scholar with International Center for Law and Economics. Dr. Fruits will serve as our speaker today. Now for a couple of my personal guests. This young lady right here that'll be sitting next to me, she's an amazing person. She's Rhonda Wolf. Rhonda is the CEO of the United Way in the Mid-Willamette Valley. Fun fact about Rhonda, she played basketball and volleyball with my sister a couple of years ago, back in high school, at Cascade High School. And I remember watching Rhonda play. She was feisty and competitive on the basketball court. There was a time, believe it or not, that we were the same height. We're no longer the same height. Rhonda's nonprofit, it's been a while. So, yeah. Rhonda's nonprofit journey began in 1981 at the Salem Family YMCA, an organization where she dedicated 3 decades of service and leadership. She then moved to the United Way, where she is continuing her commitment to improving the lives of individuals and families throughout the Mid-Willamette Valley. Rhonda credits the late John Mitskahi, who served as YMCA's executive director until his retirement in 1997, with sparking her early passion for nonprofit work. His influence, paired with her deep belief in community-driven solutions, has shaped her enduring dedication to service. Please support our nonprofits. Please get out and meet your directors. Thank you not only to Rhonda, but all the other directors for nonprofits here in this community. Lastly, I want to recognize my friend, Jackie Ellebrock. She is the Salem Chamber Operations Director, but there is not anything, I think, that happens at the Salem Chamber that she does not touch. She's a very special woman and is very dedicated to many different aspects. She is a community builder. And I mean, she is a community builder wherever she goes. Today, though, I want to recognize her for what she's done in her hard work with the Chamber Businesswomen. Not only has she transformed this event with title and monthly sponsors, but attendance is through the roof. If Tim Jennings is here, we need to knock a wall out somewhere in the Ross and West Salem to add more room. So thank you, Tim, for taking that mission on. I'm sure there's some builders in here that are ready to help. So thank you, Jackie, for all that you do, and not only for all that you do, but also the love that we feel in your presence. So thank you. So that's the head of the table. Now I wish to invite back up Tom Hoffert, who is going to present our Spirit of Salem.
Well, it is a pleasure to be in front of you and to be sharing a little bit of information. You're used to us having a Spirit of Salem award each month. We're really proud to be bringing that back and celebrating some of the hidden gems. Sometimes they're not so hidden, but the wonderful individuals and organizations that do very special things for this city. I am particularly pleased today with our 2 selections of Spirit of Salem awards. And I think you'll understand why for those of you who know our organization. These organizations are working for us 24 hours a day. The Salem Police Department provides law enforcement and public safety services to the city of Salem. The department is dedicated to keeping Salem safe by providing superior police servicing. As an agency, their vision is to be a recognized leader of best police practices through innovation, equipment, technology, and training in order to fight crime, enhance trust, and protect this community. They are led by Salem Police Chief Trevor Womack. The Salem Fire Department provides a wide range of emergency services to the city of Salem and the Salem Suburban Fire District. Operating 11 locations, the department runs 11 advanced support fire engines, 2 aerial ladder trucks, and a full fleet of ambulance service vehicles. The Salem Fire Department employs highly trained staff who provide advanced life support, and firefighters ensure continuity of care from the initial contact with the patient through transport to our local hospital system. They are led by Fire Chief David Gerboth. An important note as I invite these 2 gentlemen to the table. Chief Gerboth got the call that all parents fear the most, and one of his sons was involved in an accident. He is in stable condition. Chief Gerboth landed back in Salem at PDX at 10 a.m. this morning and literally just walked in the door. He has 2 deputy chiefs. Are thrilled they're not having to come forward to stage. Both Chief Womack and Chief Gerboth are models of how leaders in our city government should be interacting with their communities. They are men of incredible character, and they are leading very important workforces in our community. Ladies and gentlemen, will you help me in joining and welcoming to the stage Police Chief Trevor Womack and Fire Chief David Gerboth. That for a moment. Chief, it's great to have you here. We're going to do a quick thing. We're going to come over here and take a quick photo, and then I'm going to have you both just grab a minute at the mic if you would. Okay. We'll all try and fit in here.
I'm going to go first because I don't want to have to follow Chief Womack. So I've seen that before. But I'm incredibly moved by this. This is really, I think, an illustration of the 335 members of this organization that serve this community every day, 24 hours a day, in the best way possible. We just celebrated our 168th year of service on December 4th. And really, the only reason we're doing that is because of the dedication of the members of this organization and the support we have of all of you. We enjoy a support of public safety from our elected officials, our leadership, and most of all from the community. So I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to share this. This is for the members of our organization. And in closing, we also do share a great relationship with law enforcement, with the police department here. It's not that way everywhere, but it is a special community, certainly. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'll just echo what Chief Kirk both said. He's an awesome partner in public safety, and it's a blessing to have him here with us. So thank you, Dave. You know, yesterday, this isn't all about me at all, but yesterday was my 5-year anniversary coming to Salem. And so, no, I don't mean that for applause. I'm not a stranger to the community anymore, and as I look around the room, that's what I'm impacted by. I see so many people that I know and work closely with, and I just highly value the honor of serving, the privilege of serving as the police chief here because of the community partnerships and support we have, but most importantly, the people that I represent within the organization, because when we say Salem Police Department, it's the men and women that are out there serving 24/7, 365. I'm so proud of the work that they do, and I'm honored to kind of accept this on behalf of all of them today, so thank you very much.
When you're an organization that recognizes greatness in business and the nonprofit sector, it is hard for us to find a way to recognize the greatness of our city. And I want to thank previous and current city leadership for engaging with the Salem Chamber and allowing me to serve as just but one voice of many, but on the selection committees for both of those gentlemen coming to our city. Our city leadership and the elected leaders we have in this room from the city, recognizing that the business voice at that table is important, is recognized and appreciated. So I hope you hear us on that. Our monthly sponsor today is Businesses for Community. Recent in their assembly, but with a special mission in front of themselves, this group intends to play a unique and strategic role in the greater Salem Kaiser area and our surrounding communities. They are local business owners and families who share a deep appreciation for the economic impact that our local businesses have in creating a healthy community. This organization is led by an incredibly capable and engaged board of directors, including Rich Schultz, Alan Rasmussen, Adam Stout, Bill Rickey, Rich Kansky, Dick Withnell, and Rich Duncan. Join me in welcoming their chair, their board chair, Mark Hoyt, to the podium so he may tell you more about Businesses for Community, as well as introduce our keynote speaker today.
Businesses for Community is particularly honored to be able to sponsor this particular economic forum. I'm sure that in part begs the question for you, what is Businesses for Community? Well, I've got 2 minutes to tell you, so you'll excuse me if I'm a little brief and to the point. Businesses for Community is a group of business owners who's come together with the common belief in 2 fundamental principles. First, businesses can't succeed without their community. We are dependent on it. And second, our community is dependent on thriving businesses for its future. But there's a third leg to that stool, and that's government. Because perhaps even more than customer support, government regulation and government support of business can have a significant impact on businesses, and those businesses are tied to the community. Government does not produce revenue. Government is dependent on its businesses and the employees of those businesses for tax revenue for its survival. So if businesses fail, government fails, and we all need stable government to succeed. So it's in recognition of the interdependence between business, community, and government that the members of Businesses for Community came together to do 2 things. First, support and give back to the community. In the last 2 times I've been in this building, over $350,000 was raised each time in support of the community. That revenue came from businesses and the people that the businesses employ. That's more than $700,000 from the businesses back to the community to support its efforts. On a more macro level, if you go back over the last 40 to 50 years and analyze what businesses has done for the community, things like the Kroc Center, the YMCA, the police facility, family building blocks, CASA, all of those things, when compiled, reflect more than hundreds of millions of dollars in investment in this community from business. So not only the structures, but the organizations that serve our community are supported by business. So we want to continue that tradition of support for our community, and we're committed to doing that. Secondly, we're going to stand up for business. Too often, business leaders, business owners are tied up doing the business of business to stand up and protect business for what is important for it to thrive. So in that regard, we come together so that we can be sure that businesses thrive, because that provides the tax dollars. Those tax dollars support the police and the fire that we honored here today. They support the libraries, they support social services. So the members of Businesses for Community come together and are coming together to stand up for the reality that business, community, and government are inseparably intertwined. And if any one of those three does not thrive, all fail. We love our community too much to let it fail. That's why we're here. Today, it is my honor to introduce Dr. Eric Fruits. He's an economics expert, finance expert, and statistics expert. He has been referred to, perhaps at his own hand, as Oregon's best economist. He has produced numerous research studies involving economic analysis, financial modeling, and statistical analysis. As an expert witness, he has provided expert testimony in state courts, federal courts, and international court. As an economic damages expert, Dr. Fruits has provided expert testimony regarding business valuation, lost profits, and foregone income. He has been a testifying expert in cases involving real estate valuation, healthcare services, transportation, and shipping services. He's provided expert testimony to state courts and federal courts. Today, we listen to his analysis of Oregon's economic trajectory. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Eric Fruits. We're privileged to have him today.
Thank you. Check is in the mail. Well, good morning, everyone. It is really a delight to be here in Salem. Since I live in Portland, you probably know that it really is a delight to be here in Salem. I really appreciate the invitation to speak here to such an important group. I wish we had a group that was as vibrant in the state's biggest city. I especially want to thank Jameson Gideon for putting this all together and inviting me here, so I hope I don't ruin his reputation. This is such a nice place with the Christmas trees and so forth. Everyone looks happy, and I'm afraid that I'm going to make you unhappy. Also, as you heard in the introduction, I am an economist. What that means, if you don't know what an economist is, it doesn't matter. It probably means, though, you might want to get up and get a cup of coffee, because we have a reputation. I want to start with just a real short story that kind of illustrates where we are today. About 2 years ago, we live across the street from our local school. About 2 years ago, my wife went for an early morning walk past the school, across the street from our house. On the sidewalk, she saw the school's custodian, who also happened to be our neighbor, dead on the sidewalk. We learned later he'd suffered a heart attack. She'd been there just a few minutes earlier. She might have called 911. She might even tried her hand at CPR. The school had a defibrillator inside. She could have tried that. But it was too late. See what I did right there? That's called a metaphor. And that's a metaphor for the problem that Portland and the state of Oregon is facing right now. We are suffering what I would call an economic coronary. It's a devastating cascade of fiscal and policy and demographic failures that are reinforcing each other. It's a process that one economist, not me, has doomed the urban doom loop. The economic health of Portland is crucial to Oregon because Oregon's budget structure depends on the largest city in the state firing on all cylinders. Think about it. Multnomah County, where Portland sits, contains only 19% of Oregon's population, but generates a quarter of the state's tax revenue. The larger Portland metro area comprises only 43% of the state's population, but produces more than half of the state's revenue. When that engine sputters, the entire state feels the pinch. The fundamental question I keep hearing is, well, gee, has Portland, has Oregon hit bottom? And that question deserves a clear answer. And the clear answer, the good news is, no, we haven't hit bottom. The bad news is, that's because we're still falling. To understand why, we first have to examine what we mean by urban economic collapse and what some people call a doom loop. It's a specific failure. It's where the city's decline becomes self-perpetuating. In this scenario, normal policy prescriptions don't work anymore. Tweaks don't work anymore. This mechanism operates through a vicious cycle, which is up there. I have to tell you, 85% of the graphs in this presentation were generated by AI. It is a phenomenal tool. Some of these graphs I literally could not produce because I am that incapable at graphic design. So embrace it, my friends. I mean, look, I could never do that. It's downright beautiful. So what is this doom loop, right? You've got deteriorating services that drive out taxpayers. Then you have a shrinkage of the revenue base as those taxpayers leave. Then that shrinking revenue base causes more service cuts or tax increases. And those cuts, in turn, drive out more taxpayers. This is a self-reinforcing mechanism that's really hard to get out of. And so we need to understand this vicious cycle. Then we'll also take a look at some of the evidence that Portland and, in a broader sense, many cities in the state are somewhere in the middle of this loop. And then we'll talk about what we can do to try to jump out of that loop. I am not a native Oregonian. I was born in Detroit, grew up in Cincinnati, lived in LA for a while, and moved up here in 2004, so about 20 years ago. That provides me a really interesting perspective, because when I moved here in 2004, 20 years ago, I think back to the reasons why I came to Oregon and what made it such a wonderful state at that time. And then I can contrast that with where we are now and see how things have really changed. AI. So the current crisis we're in is particularly jarring because just 2 decades ago, Oregon was winning. When I moved here in 2004, major news outlets, CBS News, USA Today, proclaimed that Portland was one of the most livable cities in the country, if not the world. Our economy was so vibrant, some of you in the room probably remember this, Washington County decided that they wanted to impose a $1,000 per employee head tax if Intel hired too many people. I know. What a difference 20 years makes. We now rank near the bottom of job growth in the country. Meanwhile, Clark County, Washington, just across the river, is booming. Around the time I moved here, policymakers became enamored with this idea, or mumbo-jumbo, of the second paycheck. The idea was that the state's natural beauty was so stunning that views of Mount Hood, the Oregon coast, recreational opportunities were so valuable that simply living in this beautiful environment was like getting a second paycheck. The thinking was, we don't need to worry about economic growth when the state's natural beauty is its own reward. What in the world has changed? Not AI. See, it's ugly. The painful truth is that our politicians treated Oregon's success like lottery winnings that they could continually draw down without consequences. They completely forgot that prosperity requires constant, diligent work to maintain. The facts speak for themselves. Since pre-COVID, Oregon employment growth has been less than half the rate of employment growth in the country. Over the past year, Oregon lost more than 18,000 jobs, even as the national economy was adding millions of jobs. If you look at Portland, Portland shed 9,600 positions in high-valued sectors, such as information, financial services, professional services, manufacturing. These are sectors that pay $80,000 to $150,000 a year on average, and those employees support about 3 or 4 service sector workers. Multnomah County's unemployment rate is now at 5.5%, a full percentage point above the national average. If you look at the contrast, this country is booming, but Oregon and Portland and Multnomah County are stagnating. This is a structural problem. It is not cyclical. It's not a rough patch we got to get out of. This is something bigger than that. According to CNBC, Oregon is currently one of the worst states for business and is also listed as the 4th worst place to move to. Our state economists, the economists who work for the state government, this summer described Oregon as being in a, quote, growth recession or near stagnation. When you have economists who are paid to be cheerleaders for the state saying that, that's like the cheerleader saying that your team is going to lose. It probably comes as no surprise to people in this room that Oregon is a high-tax state. The movement of income out of the Portland region is striking. Between 2020 and 2021, Multnomah County lost approximately $1 billion in taxable income. That's just Multnomah County. The most recent IRS data, which is way old because they can't keep up, especially with my refund check, the most recent IRS data reveals that the following year, the county lost another $1.2 billion in taxable income. Multnomah County alone is losing about $1 billion a year in taxable income. The IRS migration data tells a story. People leaving Multnomah County have an average annual income of about $106,000, while those who arrive have an average income of about $73,500. That's a gap of more than $30,000 per household. And guess what? They're not leaving because of the weather. They are leaving primarily for places like Clackamas County, Washington County, but especially Clark County, Washington. They're relocating to avoid paying the income taxes in Oregon, in Multnomah County, and in the metro regional government. This represents a direct vote of no confidence in the metro area's service delivery relative to its tax burden. This one's awesome. I love the AI. If you look at the tax statistics published by the Oregon Department of Revenue, the top 5% of Oregon tax filers account for about 40% of the tax revenues to the state, income tax revenues. The top 1%, remember the 1%? The top 1% of tax filers account for nearly a quarter of the state's income tax revenues. Now think about that. The top 1%. That's about a little more than 24,000 people. If you took 1% of that 1%, which is a really small number, that's about 250 households. If those 250 households left the state will lose $27.5 million in tax revenues. It doesn't take a lot of high-income earners to leave to make a difference to the state budget. Instead of asking how to attract and retain good jobs, Oregon's politicians seem to have declared war on employers. They continually pile on regulations, make permits nearly impossible to get, raise taxes again and again and again, and my understanding is that's not just a Portland phenomenon. They seem to operate under the assumption that businesses are just some sort of magical money machine that can absorb infinite punishment. Their attitude appears to be very simple. And I've heard this. I've seen letters to the editor in the Oregonian that say this. They say, if you can't handle our rules and our taxes, well, then maybe you're just not good at doing business. And you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe they are right. Maybe they aren't good at doing business in Oregon. What happens when those businesses take that advice, leave the state, and successfully run a business elsewhere? This flight is real. Compounding our economic woes, we also have to acknowledge the catastrophic decline in our education system. Again, big contrast from when I moved here. The Oregonian reports that Oregon's current fifth graders posted bottom-of-the-barrel math scores, which are measurably worse than 45 other states. Hey, at least we're not last. We've seen test score gains, but they are tiny, tiny gains. And those tiny gains demonstrate that Oregon faces years of digging out of our post-pandemic academic hole. For many years, cities across the state have actively made the act of schlepping downtown more and more miserable. There's an old saying, Gideon, there's half the fun. But when you have a city's steady supply of road diets, dedicated bike lanes, dedicated bus lanes, navigating downtown is anything but fun. And then once you finally arrive, you better remember to feed the meter, because I can guarantee parking enforcement is the #1 most efficient agency in almost every city in Oregon. Then, when you step out of your car, you'll find yourself dodging, some credit to Salem. This didn't happen to me today. This is a Portland thing more than anywhere else, but once you step out of your car, you find yourself dodging tents, tarps, feces, panhandlers, and then those interesting characters who kind of stand like this. We call them fentanyl zombies. Why would anyone choose to take an in-person meeting downtown when you could just hop on a Zoom call? On top of all that, you've got crime, which makes everything worse. It seems, I live in Portland, I had my car stolen. Every single person in Portland has either had their car stolen or broken into or personally knows someone who has. Shopping often means waiting for employees to unlock cases of things like detergent or shampoo. Then you have armed guards checking your receipt when you leave the store, treating you like you are the criminal. Oregon's tax burden is actively driving away the exact people we need most, the high-income earners who fund the city and state services. What we have here is, these are just Multnomah County and Portland business taxes. The two on the left, those are taxes on business income taxes. The one on the right, that's Multnomah County's preschool for all income tax. If you look year over year, those are huge declines in tax revenues. What does that mean? It means that businesses are seeing shrinking revenues and shrinking profits, and we are seeing fewer businesses with profits to pay those taxes. The thing is that with these taxes, Metro's tax, Multnomah County's tax, I'm sure other cities considering income taxes, they don't just tax you if you live in, say, the county. They tax you if you live or work in the county. Consider an accountant who lives in Sandy or Vancouver, Washington, but works at a firm in downtown Portland. That individual has to pay those taxes even though they don't live there. Those firms have a very compelling incentive to leave. Why? Because good employers listen to their employees. When the employees come and say, look, I don't want to work downtown. It's miserable to get here, and I'm paying a huge amount of taxes for the privilege of not getting any services. Why don't we move? The employer just sits down with a spreadsheet for about 30 minutes and says, holy cow, you're right. I can give my employees thousands of dollars in raises without actually paying them more simply by relocating out of the state. Once they leave and they've tasted that sweet, sweet tax-free life in Clark County, Washington, they're never coming back. We see the headlines when major employees like Intel announce layoffs, or when Dutch Bros decides to move their corporate headquarters to Phoenix. You don't see the headlines when the little accounting firm decides to move across the river to Vancouver. You don't see the headlines when someone in Ohio has a list of places to expand to, and Oregon's on that list, and then they just cross it off. You don't see that. Those don't make the news. The Dutch Bros and the Intels, those are the tip of the iceberg. What you're missing are thousands of other stories underneath it of missed opportunities. The employment erosion has created a parallel crisis in commercial real estate. If you look at downtown Portland, our office vacancy rate stands at 34.6%. Retail vacancy rate is also at about 32%. You've got about a third of downtown commercial space sitting empty. In July of this year, Big Pink, which is also known as the U.S. Bank Corp Tower, one of the most prominent structures in Portland's skyline, just illustrates the sheer magnitude of the value destruction. In 2015, 10 years ago, Big Pink sold for $373 million. This year, it sold for $45 million. That's an 88% decline in one decade. Hence the AI picture of a T-Rex chomping on Big Pink. See, I could never do that. The county assessor, this is a public employee. The county assessor's comment on the sale was chilling, and it's published in Willamette Week. He said the price was, and I'm quoting here, pretty close to land value. So think about what that means. That means that there's a 42-story office tower sitting in the middle of downtown Portland that has a worth of approximately zero. This single distress transaction has established a highly damaging comparable for thousands of property tax appeals, right? That value, 12 cents on the dollar, they're marching straight to the county and saying, we want our taxes lowered. And you know what? There's a line out the assessor's door saying, we want that too. If you look in 2024, there were 700 commercial owners who filed appeals with Multnomah County. That was increased from 277 appeals just 7 years earlier, nearly triple the number of appeals. The last time that the county reported data, the county granted $18.3 million in property tax appeals in 2023 alone. When they reevaluate those properties for taxes, it cascades throughout because people now have a comparable to look to. And that erodes the tax base. This self-inflicted wound is directly benefiting our neighbor across the river. The Columbia River is not the Berlin Wall. It makes it easy for thousands of Oregonians to take the state's motto seriously, which is, she flies on her own wings. Yes, and they're taking that flight right out of the state. If you haven't done it recently, I encourage you to take a field trip to Vancouver. Go on a Saturday. They have a very nice Saturday market. Stop at that farmer's market, then walk by the waterfront. It's about 2 blocks away. You will see new condos and apartments as far as the eye can see. I was talking to my wife when we were walking by, and she says, who lives here? And I said to her, every single one of those units is filled with an Oregon tax refugee. As a result, I think Oregon's new motto, instead of being she flies with her own wings, I think the motto is going to become, once the kids grow up, we're out of here. I'm sure some of you have said that yourselves or heard someone say that. This migration is the market speaking. When high earners relocate to neighboring jurisdictions, it creates state-level revenue shortfalls that then ultimately force cuts to local governments, thereby accelerating the doom loop. The erosion of this tax base is only one part of the structural problem. The other half is our relentless mandatory burden imposed by the Oregon Public Employee Retirement System, known as PERS. PERS currently carries a $29.4 billion unfunded liability. For context, that is as big as the entire general fund budget for the state of Oregon in the last biennium. Phil Knight famously said in an interview, he said, PERS will sink the state. Employer contribution rates are continually climbing because Oregon's constitution protects pension benefits from reduction. Back in 2004, when I got here, the PERS shortfall was only $2.1 billion. That was enough to trigger a panic attack in the legislature, and they instituted PERS reforms in 2003. I testified before the Supreme Court on those PERS reforms. We had a liability of about $2 to $3 billion, and that was a crisis that demanded immediate action. Today, that liability is 10 times bigger, and no one seems to give a rip. PERS costs have tripled. They've gone from an average of about 10% of payroll expenses to about 30% of payroll. This is crushing state and local budgets. And I know we have elected officials in here, and I'm sure you're nodding your head if I knew who you were, plus the lights are bright. This burden's hitting local budgets everywhere. You look right here in Salem. Salem now pays $11 million a year more in pensions than it did several years ago. Gladstone School District saw PERS costs rise from 3% of payroll to 19% of payroll in one biennium. Statewide, face $670 million in increased pension obligations in the 2025-2027 fiscal years. These mandatory increases in PERS costs take priority over every single other thing in the budget, like discretionary spending. They automatically reduce the funds available for other discretionary services. Every year, automatically, more money goes to pensions and less money goes to everything else. It is austerity on autopilot. As I noted before, our property tax system is the other part of the vice. And if you want to take a look, go back to Big Pink. Its property tax payment fell from $2.7 billion, whoa, don't we wish, from $2.7 million a year to $860,000 a year. We have a $1.9 million a year a loss in property taxes from one single building. The Multnomah County Assessor reported that in the last year, 2024, the assessor had to reduce property tax assessments by $130 million, with Portland accounting for $30 million of it. So now we've got a big problem, right? We've got rising pension costs and declining revenues. This confluence of structural forces compels cuts to things like parks, transportation, economic development, permitting, policing, fire. This is the doom loop. Reduced services, reduced tax base, more reduced services, higher taxes. It just keeps feeding off of each other. This is the definition of the doom loop. Now we have to talk about the elephant in the room that's really hard to deal with, and that is that remote work is here to stay. We've got to face it. I know we've got employers in here. It's permanent. Remote work changed everything. The pandemic fundamentally changed the workplace, and many employees and their employers have adopted work-from-home policies. So much so, and this is a quote from an actual state policy, it says that Oregon state government encourages working remotely where it's a viable option that benefits both the employer and the employee and the agency. It is state policy to encourage remote work. But this remote work has taken a toll on a lot of our downtowns. I'm sure you see it here in Salem. Without people working downtown, they're not eating lunch downtown. They're not having happy hour downtown. They don't know what's going on downtown, so maybe they don't bring their family down on the weekend to show them all the cool things they saw when they were at work. I'm sure everyone in this room probably knows of some long-loved restaurant that has recently closed over the past couple of years. The problem is that workers love the convenience of remote work. They avoid lengthy commutes. They avoid paying for gas. They save on childcare expenses. Research suggests that an employee is willing to take a 5 to 10% pay cut in order to work remotely. Put it another way, though, if employers want their workers to return to the office full-time, they'd probably have to give them a pay bump of about 5 to 10% just to offset the inconvenience. But even a pay bump may not be enough for some. I've worked from home for more than 15 years, and I can tell you, I am never, ever going to work in an office again. And the central question remains, if you can work anywhere in the world, why would you schlep downtown to sit in an office all day? Especially when, as we discussed, the city has made downtown especially miserable due to crimes, drug, and poor transportation. We can't do much about the fact that remote work is here to stay. That's unfortunate. But what we can do is control the environment. Employers are facing enormous pressure from employees to get out so that employees won't have to pay taxes and won't have to deal with the inconvenience. When an employer moves from Portland to Clark County, the workers immediately receive a higher paycheck without the employer having to give a raise. This situation has led to a collapse in investor confidence. In 2017, 8 years ago, the Urban Land Institute ranked Portland among the top three of 78 metropolitan areas for real estate investment attractiveness. Last year, Portland plummeted to 80th out of 81, second to last place. Portland State University economist Gerard Mildner summarized the catastrophic shift perfectly. He said, "No American city has fallen as fast as Portland. When national investors view a city or a state as toxic, and when companies choose to expand their operations elsewhere, the problem extends beyond mere marketing. Rebuilding that confidence after such a collapse requires years, maybe decades, of demonstrated improvement. Something I often hear, often from conservatives, is something along the lines of, well, that's okay. We just need to hit bottom, because once you hit bottom, the only way is up. Like, well, let me offer you two observations. One, bottom is a terrible place to be, and you don't want to go there. The other observation is neither Portland nor the state has hit bottom, and is not even close to hitting bottom, because we're still falling. Urban death spirals rarely occur quickly. If you look at the history of other distressed cities, you could see how long this decline takes. Again, I was born in Detroit. Their decline began in the 1960s. It's kind of interesting that my family left Detroit around 1970, 2 years after I was born, and they moved up in the world to the great city of Cleveland, which at the time was also a joke. They crossed the point of no return in the mid-1980s, Detroit did, but they didn't declare bankruptcy until 2013. More than 40 years of decline. Detroit, they chose to protect pensions over services. They avoided all the difficult conversations about tax base erosion. They pursued little incremental reforms, roadmaps, when radical action was required. The strategy led to the city's population falling from 1.8 million to 700,000 over 4 decades before bankruptcy finally forced that restructuring. You look at Pittsburgh. They crossed their threshold around 1983 when the steel industry collapsed. But they didn't receive state oversight until 2003, 20 years after the decline began. Pittsburgh, though, they chose reality. When the state imposed fiscal oversight in 2003, the city made hard choices. They cut the workforce by 20%. They reformed pensions, and they restructured government operations. Pittsburgh today, believe it or not, serves as a model of a post-industrial recovery. They are written up in magazines as a great place to visit now. The gap between hitting the point of no return and the arrival of bottom or bankruptcy is a long way and a long trip. I think Portland today resembles Detroit, roughly in the mid-'80s, or Pittsburgh in the early '90s. We're still in the middle, and we still have decades to go before we finally hit bottom. But if you look at the trends, they're pointing downward. In some cases, they're accelerating. I say we have about 2 to 5 years to show that we are actually serious about turning things around. If we don't have things ticking upward again by 2030, the perception that the city and the state are failing will harden into a reality that will be really hard to overcome. We will risk spending a generation raising taxes on a dwindling tax base while cutting services. That is the doom loop. The thing is, though, it's too late to elect a new captain when the ship is already taking on water. At that point, for many, the best option is to hop in a lifeboat and float to the nearest and safest island. People and businesses with options are leaving. And this isn't the best thing for Oregon. In fact, it's bad for Oregon, but it's the best thing for them. And you got to ultimately look out for number one. Unfortunately, those departing taxpayers and job creators are precisely the people we need to help bail out the ship. And once they've jumped, they're not getting back on. So we have a choice: radical action or terminal decline. And the sources are clear. Incremental change doesn't work. We need immediate radical action. The $29.4 billion PERS unfunded liability strangles the state government. It is a 911 emergency. Every Oregon municipality and every school district, every county government, every city government cannot solve this problem locally. This is where we need the collective power of groups like the Salem Chamber of Commerce. We need the collective power of the elected officials in this room. We need mayors, city councilors, school board members. Even if you serve on the Soil and Water District, you need to march down to Salem, sit in that Capitol every single day, and demand that PERS be reformed. Because those legislators, I hate to say it, they won't listen to me because I'm a crazy nut job. They may not listen to the business community, but they will listen to their friends and colleagues who are elected officials throughout the state. You, I hate to say it, are our only hope. Governor Tina Kotek and the Oregon legislature must prioritize pension reform above all other policy objectives. If the state constitution says that we can't do it, then we change the Constitution. You could probably add 2 sentences to the Constitution that could solve all of our problems with PERS. Other states have successfully done it. We need to do it too. Without substantial PERS reform, the alternative is inevitable. Watching every government in Oregon cut services to fund pensions while raising taxes. We are losing about $1 billion a year in Multnomah County alone to tax competition. We must recognize that progressive taxation sounds great in the college classroom, but it doesn't work when the people who are facing those taxes have found a moving van. Cities and localities need to dial back their business taxes and their local income taxes. The metro income taxes should be gone until they can demonstrate actual tangible results. Multnomah County's preschool for all income tax should be eliminated altogether. It should be banned at the state level and never be revisited. Every single tax proposal should answer this question: does it raise revenues to provide services to the people who stay, or does it simply drive people away? When you have a third of downtown sitting vacant and landmark buildings selling for 12 cents on the dollar, emergency measures are justified. We absolutely need more people working downtown. We need more people living downtown. And local government's decisions, especially things like the distribution of tents, tarps, drug paraphernalia, combined with Measure 110's drug decriminalization, have provided catastrophic results that are clearly visible to downtown and to us, and also show up in vacancy rates and property values. Cities need immediate enforcement. We need to clear unauthorized encampments. We need to prosecute theft, vandalism, and violence. We need to shut down open-air drug markets, and we need to pair this enforcement with treatment. But beyond enforcement, we need bold steps to revive the real estate business. This means ending inclusionary zoning, ending rent control, but that's just the beginning. We need to eliminate design review. We need to eliminate historic review. We need to eliminate system development charges. We need to eliminate pretty much any permitting that's not related to safety. And these eliminations should be kept in place until vacancy rates return to normal. We have a choice before us. We are at that critical fork in the road, as they say. Detroit chose inaction and decline, leading to decades of shrinkage and eventual bankruptcy. Pittsburgh chose to face reality, implemented radical reforms, and emerged as a model of recovery. Portland, Salem, Eugene, and the rest of the state has less than 5 years to demonstrate that reversal is possible. After that window closes, that perception will harden into reality, and it will be irreversible. Capital will flow to other cities. Talented workers will build their careers elsewhere. The doom loop will become irreversible. So I implore you, if you're a business leader, it's time to stop being polite. Demand fundamental change. Or, as an economic reality, get the heck out of Dodge. If your political leaders are not serious people, vote them out. Replace them with someone who is serious about fiscal and structural reality. To the elected officials, your legacy is being written now. You will be remembered as the leaders who led and saved and stabilized Oregon, or you'll be seen as the leaders who waffled while it declined in irrelevance. There's no middle ground here. You can't study or process your way out of this. You can't recycle 35-year-old road maps. The choice is stark: radical action or terminal decline. And everyone else in this room, every Oregonian, stop pretending it's someone else's problem. Just because you elected them to represent you doesn't mean you can't do something. You need to demand accountability. You need to show up at hearings. You need to demand results. You need to demand change. Right now, the state still has a pulse. We could still call 911. We could still perform CPR. But if we just walk past this crisis, if we convince ourselves, oh, someone else will help out, or if we just wait a little bit longer to act, we will find ourselves standing over a body that is too late to save. The bottom, sadly, is coming. Our job is to jump out of that doom loop, jumpstart the economy, because the long ride to the bottom is a very miserable experience. Thank you. So I think
We've allotted some time for Q&A. If you would, please raise your hand and we'll tackle as many of these questions as we can in the audience.
We got one back there and we got one over here.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm Maria Hinojos Presi. I'm the board president of Chariots. I noticed that at the beginning of your presentation, you also marked how Oregon doesn't have a sales tax.
Oh, you did, yes.
So is that also included in your recommendations of switching to a sales tax?
Oh, see, I'm proud of my AI. Trying to find it there. That is a very good question, and it's a question that has come up many, many times. In fact, I testified before the legislature on reforming the revenue system. And I think if we were pulling up the Conestoga wagons again, if this were the 1800s, late 1800s, I would say do not have an income tax, go with a consumption/sales tax. I think it's too late to do that. We have built a system on no sales tax and a high income tax. I think we have retail establishments that should not exist because we don't have a sales tax. We have friggin' Tiffany's in downtown Portland. There's no reason why a city the size of Portland should have a Tiffany's. Well, we do because we don't have a sales tax. But I think things have changed. What we found when we did studies is that Oregonians wouldn't mind a sales tax if it completely, 100% replaced some other tax, like the income tax. Because unfortunately, I think most Oregonians don't trust the legislature to just say, oh, well, we'll lower the income tax, right? You got to get rid of it. But if in terms of economic growth, income taxes, what's the old expression in economics? If you want less of something, tax it. So if you want less income, let's tax income. My advice would be get rid of the income tax, go to a sales tax like Washington. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll ever happen. All right, we had...
I was wondering if you ever would consider running for governor.
Well, I'm really honored, and thing is, I love my family. And I know people have run for governor, and I see what it does to them, and so maybe after my wife leaves me and my kids are gone. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm a commissioner in Polk County, and we rely quite a bit on agriculture and generate about $210 million a year in product. However, land use permits have all but stopped for our commercial ag community. And I'm curious if you can talk about the export economy, the more global macro issues affecting ag exports, which have declined. And I just read today that China's exports have reached nearly $1 trillion while ours are lagging. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that could be a whole speech right there. I think one thing that a lot of people don't really appreciate in Oregon is regarding exports. Semiconductors and high tech get a lot of attention, but once you get past semiconductors, agriculture is the top state export, and we need to keep exporting that. Wheat's a big one, but we do have a serious fundamental problem with ag and with I'm trying to find SB 100. You know, one of the things that we saw in Governor Kotek's recycled roadmap, and I say recycled because everyone's from Goldschmidt, Kitzhaber, Kulongoski, Kitzhaber again, and Brown have all had the same roadmap that Tina Kotek just released last week. And one of the things that they say, oh, we need to streamline permitting and help with land use. The biggest problem aren't the rules. I mean, those are a big problem. The big problem is that the way that our land use rules are structured is that third parties can come in and file a lawsuit or a land use appeal. And so no matter how much streamlining you have, that unless you have new laws that stop that kind of interference from third parties, you will never see an increase in permitting for a lot of stuff involving land use. I know the other issue you're probably facing in the agricultural community is this, the Department of Revenue now trying to redefine certain agricultural activities as business activities so they would be subject to a different tax. And I haven't really looked at that too much, but again, there's a lot of big issues that need to be addressed in the next short session. And just to go off on a small tangent, I really feel sorry for anyone in the legislature, especially if you're in the minority, Representative Mannix, because this next short session is just going to be misery because you're going to have all these issues with H.R. 1, some call it the One Big Beautiful Bill, that are really going to occupy a lot of the legislature's time when they have a lot of other really big issues to deal with. Like, I think we should really be teeing up PERS reform. All right, I've been boxing too much. Oh, last one, okay.
Yeah, so I had folks at Thanksgiving that I know and love, and had you joined us at Thanksgiving and made this presentation, I'm pretty sure that they would have gone home still absolutely convinced that the rich do not pay their fair share of taxes. Wondering if you've got any folks that were at your Thanksgiving that think that way and what you would say to them.
Oh, well, I'd show them the slide of the top 1%, right? And, you know, would you rather get a little bit from a high income earner, or would you rather get zero, right? Because it's not of like, oh, let's just tax them more and bring in more revenue. It's like, let's tax them more and send them over to Washington, right? And so you really have to look at it from, it's not even game theory. It's just kind of common sense, right? You know, you have a loyal dog who sits on the porch, but if you kick it, eventually that loyal dog is going to run away, right? There's only so much abuse you can take. And the thing is about taxes is it's so easy to just whip out a spreadsheet and do the calculations. You know, that's what's happened. I have 4 friends now who've left Portland, and they all live in the same condo complex in Vancouver, right? It's just amazing how many people are moving. And they say it's so easy. I mean, it's like I'm saving, you know, $10,000, $15,000 a year, right? That's a huge amount of money over time. You know, when you're my age, I'm in my mid-50s, you know, if you're saving $15,000, $20,000 a year for the next 20 years, it's a big deal. Anyone else? Or we said the last one, but I can go unless we get kicked out.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Well, have you guys ever been on an airplane and had a flight attendant do the pre-flight instructions? That's kind of how I feel right now. I'm going to go through a long list of things, but the pre-flight instructions I think are always better taken before the plane is hit by lightning and the airbags start to deploy. So thank you for your time, Dr. Fruits. Appreciate the inspiration, and I think, you know, as Tom often says, we live in the 48th worst state for business. And I don't look at that as a as a negative thing, because for all of us small business owners especially, that's a challenge. And that brings out that competitive nature where you want to succeed under any circumstances. So let's just make sure that at the end of the day, we go take on the day and win. Thank you also, Grayson from Dominguez Accounting, for performing today's national anthem. Thank you always to Allied Productions, Capital Community Media, and the Salem Convention Center. You guys do a fantastic job for us every single month. Businesses for community. Sounds like a pretty unique strategic group that's coming together to really help the Salem-Keizer area. So thank you for your sponsorship today. Thank you also, Jason, John, Chris McLaren, Chad Neal, and TJ Sullivan and the entire group from Hagen Hamilton for all of your support for the chamber and this meeting. And this kind of gets to the point as well, you have this on your tables. Take a look at this, take your phone out, start signing up for things. Jackie Roche does a great job putting some things together for us to be able to make it easier to attend things and be aware of things. That is very, very important for us to do. So take a look at that sheet. You know, as we get into a few more of the next round of announcements, we have some critical things going on in this community. One of the things that's taking place tonight is we have a city council meeting. I think Mayor Hoy did not make it on the agenda, but she's here. So thank you, Mayor Hoy, for being here tonight or today. From what I'm told, at least via text, at Salem City Council, they'll begin conversations updating the equity of the current operating fees on businesses. The other thing that we're going to be talking about in the weeks and months to come is there's a demand for more funds from many, many different levels, many things that you're talking about, but also from a chariots tax that's going to target exclusively businesses. If you're not yet paying attention, please engage. Please get involved. Please educate yourself. Utilize the chamber as that conduit for learning more about what's going on in our community. Our forum series speaker, speaking of the next things, is we're hoping to be announcing something next January 12th, or next month, January 12th. We'll be meeting right back in this room again, and we're hoping to get a list of featured candidates to bring a debate as far as where is Salem's heading, what is our direction. So please mark that calendar down. That's going to be an important part that you will not want to miss. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention is shopping local, again, is our missional work, and we want to make sure that everybody focuses on that. I'm going to skip through some of this stuff. In January, we have the return of the Safe Agribusiness Banquet presented by KeyBank. So please be sure to, again, take out that sheet and zap that as far as for January 23rd. You won't want to miss that. On behalf of the Board of Directors, it's also really important for you to know, as I talked about chariots, that we are part of a coalition of 6 total organizations, I believe, that are going to work with chariots as far as the goals that they have for the tax that they want to impose of $40 million per year. Those are things that you can track as well through the chamber. And so, again, keep your eye on that. This Thursday, another big thing where you need to be involved in, we will be hosting a special business advocacy committee meeting featuring 2 unique pro and con debates. One of the debates will be the presentation by ODOT Funding Package Citizen Referendum Campaign led by Ed Deal and Senator Bruce Starr, as well as a rebuttal from Melissa Unger, Executive Director of SEIU Local 503. So again, attend that meeting. Secondly, we will also have Representative Kevin Mannix on nullifying the estate tax with a rebuttal from Jody Weiser, President and founder of Tax Fairness Oregon. Again, that is this Thursday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. I believe you need to be a chamber member to attend that. So see Jackie Roche. What's that? That's on the sheet. It's on the sheet. We enjoyed recognizing the Salem Police Department and the Fire Department. Thank you for all that you do. Your departments are just amazing. We close today with our fantastic centerpiece presented from Ross Fresh Markets. And today's winner is Janelle Roden from Traditional Real Estate Partners. I think I got through all of the notes that Tom wanted me to hit. So with that, please take on the day, have a very Merry Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you all in January. Take care.
Nunca mais se quiero amar.